Tonight, we begin a series of reports on the unfinished business Congress left behind when it took off for its August recess. Among the issues remaining on the table, whether to extend the Bush-era tax cuts, protecting the nation from cyber attacks, helping the Postal Service's fiscal picture, and a farm bill that would have provided emergency relief for drought-stricken areas. More than half the counties in the continental U.S., shown here in red, have been declared eligible for federal disaster relief because of the drought. The Farm Bill is where we start tonight with reporter Daniel Neuhauser. He covers Congress for Roll Call. And thank you for being here.
Thank you.
So with such a clear need out there, why didn't Congress get this done on the Farm Bill?
Well, the major problem with it is that 80% of this bill funds the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, otherwise known as food stamps.
80%.
That's about $400 billion. Now, the House bill cuts about $16 billion. That's simply too much for Democrats and not enough for a lot of conservative Republicans who want to cut more when this gets to the floor. But I've been told by some Republican aides that if they brought this thing to the floor, the rift among Republicans would be so devastating that it would really hurt them electorally because it's so close to the election in November.
So you're saying there was a division. Tell us about the division among Republicans over this.
Sure, yeah. I mean, basically, it's a matter of philosophy. They don't agree with food stamps. They want to cut upwards of $30 billion. But the leaders knew that they couldn't cut that much in the original bill, or they would never be able to.
Republican leadership.
Exactly. They would never get Democratic support, and they know that they can't pass this with Republican votes alone.
So now, who is it on the Republican side who's opposing, who want deeper cuts in the food stamps?
Well, for instance, there's a congressman from Kansas named Tim Huelskamp. He has vowed to offer an amendment, if this comes to the floor, to cut $33 billion. That's what they would have cut in the Paul Ryan budget.
So a serious cut.
It's a very serious cut.
But what you're saying is there wasn't unanimity among Republicans. I mean, as you say, many of them realized they couldn't cut that much in order to cut it.
Absolutely.
So Speaker Boehner was facing a real division in his own
He still is. He said he was the first one to say last week at a press conference that he just does not see 218 votes in the middle to pass this thing.
Now, were food stamps the only disagreement over this farm bill? There was agreement on the drought portion of it. I mean, on the farm portion of it, I should say.
A lot of agreement. And there's some minor issues that they would probably be able to hash out. Direct payments to farmers and subsidies are always an issue. But really, the food stamp issue was the major force in this not getting through Congress.
So, talk a little bit more, Daniel, about who's on which side on the food stamps. Is it the most conservative Republicans? Is it regional, geographic?
Well,
in some way?
Every farm bill is regional to a certain extent. We've got a good example here in Iowa, a drought-ravaged state and a huge agricultural center. We've got Steve King, unarguably one of the most conservative Republicans in the Republican conference, and he has been for some time. He's in a very tough race against Kristi Vilsack, not coincidentally, Tom Vilsack's wife, the agriculture secretary.
Democrat.
That's right. That's right. And, he would object to SNAP cuts, or he would object to food stamps in any normal setting. But because his state is such an agricultural center and because the drought is so bad, he wants this thing passed. But he's being hit back home, not just by Kristi Vilsack, but by ag groups and by constituents. We're already seeing this sort of pressure to get this thing done.
In fact, you were telling us earlier today that the Republican leadership, was looking at the kind of pressure that these members were going to face as they went home. What do they expect is going to happen?
Well,
it's a 5-week recess. So.
5-week recess. It may take nothing short of a grassroots groundswell of constituent anger, pressure from ag groups to get this thing done when members come back. The divisions have been that bad. They tried to pass a 1-year extension of the 2008 Farm Bill, had to pull that last minute because they didn't have the votes for that either. They just barely squeaked through this drought aid package in the House, but the Senate refused to take it up because they, in fact, have passed a 5-year Farm Bill.
And they weren't willing to go along with the deeper food stamp.
Well, that wasn't actually in the House in the House drought aid package, but there would have been cuts to conservation programs and environmental programs. I don't want to confuse this because that was a separate issue. That's right.
So what is seen at stake? I mean, in terms of looking at the farm communities around the country, and they're facing, as we just described, this terrible drought.
Right.
What do they face? I mean, what's at stake here?
Well, this legislation expires in September 30th. After that, they would pretty much lose subsidies, lose emergency disaster relief. And right now, the people who are being hit the hardest are livestock producers, cattle, sheep, and also tree producers because of the drought, but also because of wildfires that have happened in this past year. The emergency relief that was passed in the current Farm Bill actually expired in 2011. So they have nothing to fall back on right now.
So just quickly, what are the prospects for when Congress comes back in September?
We'll see. I mean, really, like I said, it will take this big constituent anger and members really feeling like they are in danger for their jobs if they don't pass something.
Daniel Newhouser, a roll call. Thank you very much.
Thank you.